Once the most powerful man in Pakistan, Pervez Musharraf is now fighting to stay out of prison. The ex-military ruler is under house arrest, implicated in the assassination of Benazir Bhutto, among a host of legal troubles. This is Inside Story. Pakistan's former military ruler Pervez Musharraf has had his house arrest extended until the end of the month. He's now been arrested in connection with the assassination of former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. She was killed in an attack in Rawalpindi in 2007. Musharraf is charged with failing to provide adequate security to prevent the assassination. Let's get the latest from Al Jazeera's Kamal Haider.
Pakistan's former military ruler, already under house arrest, was taken under heavy escort to the anti-terrorist court, which granted the physical remand to the Federal Investigation Agency, which had asked that he be included in the conspiracy to murder Benazir Bhutto case. However, the former military ruler said he had no confidence in the joint investigation team that was constituted by a controversial outgoing Interior Minister, Mr. Rahman Malik. However, the former military ruler was also in trouble because of the ongoing case in the Supreme Court. There, the Supreme Court still had the right to ask the government to initiate those treason charges. Earlier, the government had said that because this was an interim setup, that its mandate was to hold elections and therefore could not do so. So the court indeed now proceeding with that case, but the number of cases against the former military ruler all piling up.
When Bhutto was killed, anger spread across Pakistan. At the time, Musharraf vowed to find out who was responsible for the attack.
Today, on the occasion of this sad event, I want to show my determination, and I want the whole nation to be united. We'll not rest in peace until we have finished these terrorists and uprooted them from our country, because the sovereignty and development of Pakistan depends on this.
Well, it's hard to know exactly where the courts will take the case against Musharraf, but here's some of what they're looking at. Investigators accuse him of not providing enough security for former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto, as we said. And Musharraf was arrested last week because of his decision to fire and arrest judges in 2007. And the former president is being accused of treason for dissolving the constitution and declaring emergency law. Well, joining us now to talk more about this are our guests. In Islamabad, Muhammad Amjad, spokesman for Pervez Musharraf and Secretary General of the All Pakistan Muslim League Party. Also in Islamabad, Siddiq al-Faruq, central leader of the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Party. And in Lahore, Osama Siddiq, a professor specializing in constitutional law. Welcome, all three of you. Osama Siddiq, if I could start with you, just talk us through the legal implications of all this and the troubles of Pervez Musharraf that we just listed there, the various charges that he is facing. Where do you believe all of this is going to go?
Well, there are two dimensions to it. One is the narrower legal dimension, which would cause us to look at the immediate cases which he has to face. We know from the news today that the Federal Investigative Agency has started questioning him about any possible linkages with the assassination of Mohtarama Benazir Bhutto. He's already in custody. He's already been arrested in connection with the illegal incarceration of 60-odd appellate court judges after the declaration of his second emergency. There are other pending cases, high-profile cases, pertaining to the Red Mosque incident, Akbar Bukhti's murder, and of course the most important case of all, which is his declaration of emergency itself and the fact that that has been declared unconstitutional by the government. In many ways, he has an arduous journey in front of him because all these cases are now heating up. He's here. There is increased political pressure. There are statements from the politicians, from citizens, from the news media that he be held accountable. That's, of course, one dimension, and things are moving very rapidly. The other important dimension, of course, is that what really happens to Pervez Musharraf in terms of the larger balance of power between the civilian government and the military, what really happens vis-a-vis the judiciary, which is playing an unprecedented role now and over the last 4 or 5 years, ever since its restoration, of a highly proactive judiciary, which not only suffered directly at the hands of Pervez Musharraf, but which has attached to it very high citizen expectations that he be held accountable. At the same time, elections are around the corner, and they are the sort of cornerstone of public attention right now. But in many ways, history has already been made in Pakistan. What has happened over the last week to 10 days is simply unprecedented. To a lot of people, even that is a vindication of the fact that democracy will eventually prevail. What happens in terms of the specific cases from now on is going to be a function as much of legal intricacies, the availability of witnesses, how the process proceeds, as it is going to be about who's going to be in power after the May 2013 elections, and what is the public sentiment, and whether the judiciary pursues it with the same zeal as it is pursuing it right now.
Yeah, you talk about the proactive role of the judiciary there, Osama Siddiq, and there have been some questions asked about the fact that they have been perhaps overstepping their bounds here. Is that a legitimate concern?
I think to a certain extent it is a legitimate concern. To justify the fairly difficult position in which the judiciary is, one has to see the fact that, historically speaking, because of a series of martial laws and coups, the Pakistani judiciary has been in an unprecedented situation where it has had to adjudicate over regime legitimization and had to create jurisprudence. It didn't have to do it, but it was in a corner. It created highly dubious jurisprudence. Now, you do see a new spirit in the judiciary after it was removed. There was the famous lawyers' movement, and now they have been restored. But critics, including myself, who are neutral academic observers, feel that they need to perhaps rationalize things a bit. I think there is this notion of a populist support for the judiciary. There was populist support, but it was as much opposition to Musharraf as it was for the restoration of the judges. What they saw was an illegal act people opposed. That does not necessarily mean that they gave the judiciary the license to actually take on each and everything which normally lies in the realm of public policy, political discourse. So we see various manifestations of where the judiciary is arguably not doing things right. The fact that they adjudicate upon sugar prices, the fact that they are questioning in the past the legitimacy of constitutional amendments to change the judicial appointment process even before the amendment had come into force. The fact that there are other arenas where they possibly violate the political question doctrine, or where they sort of impinge upon executive and legislative powers, is an issue. At the same time, one has to realize that 80 to 90% of the ordinary citizens come into play or come into contact with the formal judicial system at the level of the district courts. And there the situation is abysmal in terms of the number of judges, in terms of the burdens which these courts are facing, the cost of litigation. For ordinary citizens, accessing these courts and indeed accessing justice is a big challenge. And therefore, I think there's a very legitimate expectation that the courts should focus on that rather than on high-profile political issues.
Muhammad Amjad, General Musharraf is facing a whole litany of legal troubles here. How does he plan to defend himself?
Yeah, thank you. Pervez Musharraf, when he decided to come back to Pakistan, so he decided to come to the court, surrender himself, join the investigation with police, and try to prove that he is not guilty. So that was the idea behind when he came and he surrendered himself in the court. But unluckily,
so you're saying he fully expected all of this?
And the liars. Yeah, he expected all of this, but not what is happening right now. That he could not expect that these liars, and even in the court, in the High Court Islamabad, when there was a case hearing for the extension of bail, so our liar, he argument, and the judge was convinced that there was not such incidents occur, that Pervez Musharraf have issued a specific order for the detention of judges on November 3, 2007. And none of the affectees, like any one of the 60 judges which were in question, none of them, neither the family members have approached to any court or to any police station or to any agency that they were abducted for 6 months. So the judge was in fact agreed to this argument, but suddenly he said that bail is rejected and I put this case under the Anti-Terrorism Act, so therefore he should be arrested right now. So I think this is not the justice, and imposing that and putting him under the Anti-Terrorist Act Class 780A. So I think that is not a fair trial. So after that he was sent to the jail, and he was under the custody of police, and now he is under the custody of the Federal Investigation Agency for a physical remand. So the Pervez Musharraf, he is not disheartened, but he is disappointed. He was not expected that the judiciary will do like this. And you know, every day or every other day, he is called by one of the court. So even I can give you the example of this anti-terrorist court Rawalpindi, where the case of Benazir murder is pending. So there was a hearing on 23rd of this month. He himself went to the court, and the court ordered that the investigation should be done until 3rd of May. But suddenly the FIA people, after 3 days, they said, no, we want him in our physical custody within 3 days. So today the judge of the ATC, they called Pervez Musharraf to appear in the court. Even the date of hearing was 3rd May. So he presented in the court, he was there in the court, and the court said, okay, we are giving the custody, your physical custody to the FIA, and they have to report back on 30th of April. So I can't understand why they are in hurry, why the FIA and the other agencies, they are after him like this. Elections are on our head, and the political process is going on, and what we want is the real democratic government should form after the election of 11th May.
All right.
But if they behave like this, and if the whole media focus on Pervez Musharraf, they have diverted their attention from election towards the Pervez Musharraf.
All right, let's
cases.
put some of that back. Let's put some of that then to Sadiq al. Let's put some of that then to Sadiq al-Farouk in Islamabad. The suggestion that much of this is politically motivated, with elections just around the corner. How do you respond to that?
Thank you. Both Osama Siddiq and Dr. Amjad have given their opinions about judicial activism and politically motivated activity. But the fact is that judiciary is strictly following statutes, laws and constitution. Of course, if it is being observed by both of them that this is judicial activism, it is a must, because Pakistan has observed 4 martial laws during which every institution was spoiled. And it was Pervez Musharraf who legislated with retrospective effect to penalize Mr. Nawaz Sharif. Now, what we believe as PML Nawaz and my leader Mr. Nawaz Sharif, that we have no vendetta against Pervez Musharraf. What we want is that every case registered against him under any allegation must strictly be heard under the rules, and as Dr. Amjad or Muhammad Amjad has rightly said, that they want that his case is heard properly. As far as the elections are concerned, elections have to be held by Election Commission and the government, while the judiciary has to hear the cases and give its judgments. Both are different. So if one, under the excuse of political activity or elections, wants that Musharraf's case must not be heard, I think he is wrong. Both the institutions are working within their own spheres, within their own limitations, and we want rule of law. Once the crime is proved against Pervez Musharraf, he is found guilty, he must be punished, and if his charges against him prove false, then he must be freed. That is our point of view.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about one of the charges that's been leveled against Pervez Musharraf, and that is the accusation that he did not provide enough security for former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto back in 2007 when he was president of Pakistan. Give you a little bit more background on Benazir Bhutto. Now, she became the first female Prime Minister to lead a Muslim state after her father was imprisoned and hanged. She was twice elected and twice expelled from office. After a reconciliation deal with Musharraf over corruption allegations, Bhutto ended her 9-year-long self-imposed exile. And she returned to Pakistan in October of 2007. And on the same day, there was an attack on her motorcade. She wasn't hurt. But then in December 2007, shots were fired at a political rally in Rawalpindi, and a bomb went off shortly after. That was the attack that killed her. Osama Siddiq, is this particular case, that of not providing security for Benazir Bhutto, is that a case, in your opinion, that has a legal merit?
Yes, I would surely think so, because the events which surrounded the actual tragic assassination and what happened thereafter are highly suspicious. In terms of the scene of the crime not being properly cordoned off, in terms of people actually approaching the cavalcade to the extent they did, in terms of the specific information which was shared by the People's Party in terms of exalted threat to the life of Benazir Bhutto, and the fact that she herself voiced some of these concerns, the fact that there was not any proper follow-through investigation. So I think there is merit to that, but I would think that from a criminal law perspective, this is going to be a harder case to pin down. I'm not saying that there can't be potentially evidence which could implicate Pervez Musharraf. The more straightforward case is the actual, and I think from a legal strategy point of view, the more straightforward case is the actual November 3rd, 2007 emergency. Because the Constitution is explicit in terms of the circumscribed situations in which an emergency can be declared. This was acutely in violation of that. It has been subsequently declared to be unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. I don't think there are any two opinions on that. And that is where I think it's important for me to clarify. Mr. Sadiqul Farooq seems to have misunderstood me completely. There are two distinct questions here. One is a question about the legality of the cases against Pervez Musharraf and the fact whether he should be prosecuted or not. I think like any other Pakistani citizen who abides by the Constitution, and I happen to be someone who teaches the Constitution, I think it's extremely important that there be accountability after following due process. The very due process which Pervez Musharraf did not provide to his political opponents when he declared emergency, when he hounded ordinary citizens, should be extended to him in order to prove the point that that is what democracy stands for. You asked a more general question about whether there is any propensity for judicial activism in a lot of other matters, and what does that do about the larger reputation of the Supreme Court? And my answer was that there are questions there. But in this particular specific case, whatever the courts are doing, they are doing what is fairly clear-cut. And I think we should also take away the impression that this is anything to do either with the person of Nawaz Sharif, whether he forgives or not, whether Chief Justice Chaudhary is going to be magnanimous or not. This is not about persons. This is something about which every citizen is concerned. I, as a citizen, am concerned because we've had so many martial laws and people have gotten away with such impunity that this is perhaps the biggest opportunity Pakistan has to make an example of such actions in order to create a real deterrence against future martial laws.
All right, Sadiq al-Farooq, yes. I know you want to respond to that.
Yes, here I agree with Osama Siddiq that an example has to be made, so that in future no ruler can dare violate law or abrogate constitution. But as far as I have said, that Osama Siddiq Sahab or Dr. Amjad or anyone else, they have the right to give their opinion, to give their observation. Finally, the judgment as the Supreme Court empowers the judiciary, the judgment has to be given by the judiciary, and Mr. Osama has rightly said that it is the right of judiciary to give its judgment. There are other relevant or other issues. About those issues, everyone has a point of view, whether there is consensus or there is a difference of opinion, everyone has the right.
Mohammed Amjad, I know you feel that there is some sort of a political vendetta going on here against Mr. Musharraf, but I want to put it to you, the perception that this is seen as a sign of progress in Pakistan, because we are, after all, talking about a former military ruler who took power in Pakistan by force, now under house arrest. This would have been unthinkable just a few years ago in Pakistan, and this is seen as progress in the country.
Yeah, I would like to give my comment. Look, we must appreciate Pervez Musharraf that he have come by himself and he have not come on the order of court. So he himself surrendered and offered to join the investigation. On the other hand, I would say what you were talking about, the security, the president's responsibility to provide the security. Here I would like to say that the security responsibility lies with the Home Ministry, with the provincial government, with the federal government. So the President of Pakistan is not liable to give a specific security to one person or a leader in one city. This is one observation. The second one is that Rahman Malik was the chief of the security, and what I heard is that when the provincial government offered them to have their own in charge of the security, the party said that he is our chief security officer. Third thing I would like to mention is that during the public rally, during her speech, everything was exactly going calm and quiet and nothing wrong over there. But when she left the ground and somebody asked inside the car that she opened the roof and she came out. Now tell me that who asked her to come out? And when she is sitting in a bulletproof and a bomb-proof vehicle and she is going on in a normal road where a lot of people are around, so who is responsible for these incidents? I think Rahman Malik should be responsible that why he left the place before Muhtarma Benazir Bhutto Sahiba. He should accompany with her. He left in a separate car and went on another road. The third thing is that nobody have questioned, even the FIA have not questioned, that when the same incidents happen in Karachi, the Muhtarma Benazir Bhutto Sahaba, at that time, she pointed out 3 names that she suspects that these 3 people are behind this conspiracy, but none of these 3 persons have approached by FIA and their names are not in that. And
you bring up a number of points there. In the interest of equal time and the fact that our time is limited, I want to get Sadiq Al-Farouq's view on that. I know, saw him shaking his head there. What do you say to that?
Yes, thank you. I want to add that as far as Dr. Amjad is arguing or giving different examples, these witnesses or anything relevant is now being looked into the court of law. Whatever they have to offer to prove Pervez Musharraf innocent, they have to contact court and they have to approach court. And once court decides, now here, if one establishes or considers himself to be a judge, it will be unfair. Let the court decide, and I conclude my party's viewpoint stands that we believe in supremacy of law, rule of law, and whatever in the light of witnesses or evidences the court gives a judgment, we will abide by, and all the avenues available to Pervez Musharraf must be availed, whether it is appellant court, apex court, he must go to apex court. So once the case is finally decided against him that he is guilty, then he must be punished, otherwise he will be released.
On that note, we're going to have to leave it. We are unfortunately out of time. Thank you to all 3 of our guests in Islamabad. Mohammed Amjad, spokesman for Pervez Musharraf and Secretary General of the All Pakistan Muslim League Party. In Lahore, Osama Sadiq, professor in constitutional law, and in Islamabad, Sadiq Al-Farouq. central leader of the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Party. Thank you for your time, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside Story. Remember, if you want to send us your feedback, just email your thoughts to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. I'm Hazem Seeker. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.